So as cruising sailors, we don't often get to choose the source of our water, right? Because we're gypsies, vagabonds, we're off-grid livers, we're campers on the water. So when we go out to different marinas, to different locations, we don't always get to choose the purest water sources, right? And fresh water, potable water is extremely valuable to us. So we'll take what we can get a lot of times. A lot of times that's water from a hose that we fill our water tanks with. Sometimes it's rainwater, which might be a fresh resource. But we have to have ways to filter that water, and we have to have ways to test that water to make sure that we are not drinking unsafe water or contaminating ourselves. So today I'm going to be changing the filters for this upcoming sailing season in Chicago, and for funsies, we'll test the water here at the boatyard, Crowley's Boatyard. We'll test to see how the potable water looks, what we see, and we'll test it after we filter it through the system. We're going to be replacing this filter and then that filter. That filter is the primary filter. It's a 5 micron filter. This filter over here is for the water. That's also a 5 micron filter, a basic filter from Culligan. That's what we're going to be replacing today. So I've got a little wrench that helps me loosen this filter so I can get at it. There we go. And then it allows me to hand unscrew that guy. There we go. We're going to throw away this filter. We'll replace it with a new filter. We'll dump out this old water. All right, I just rinsed out this container and I've got a new filter right here. There you go. Take off the label. That looks right. It looks a lot less, it looks a lot smaller because it hasn't expanded. It hasn't absorbed any water yet. So it's a much narrower filter than what was in there initially. And now I'm going to go back in here and hand tighten that onto the housing. Okay, here's the new filter. We just right now hand tightening this on the housing. That's pretty nice. I can still unscrew it. I don't think I really need the wrench. I guess I could put a wrench on there quickly. Try to torque that a little more, but I don't want to over torque it. I think that's fine. And now I will just turn this filter back on, so when we turn on the water system, water will come through the filter. All right, the next filter I'm going to replace is this Culligan RCEZ1 filter right here. And that's for my drinking tap in the faucet. Packaging is nice and sturdy. Okay. There we go. There we are. And this should be fairly straightforward to replace the old with the new. It's just simply put in and twist kind of a system. I do recall that the last time I did this, though, it took me about 5 minutes to get it just right. So I'm going to have to turn off the camera here and work on that. All right, here's the old that I just pulled out. And there's the new that I just put in. That new one replaced this old one. I replace these every single year. Okay, we're going to test the water at the boatyard here. This is where we would attach a hose to fill our water tank. So we're going to quick douse this strip with water, and then we will match it for the results. All right, now let's take a look. This test strip includes tests for metal contaminants, as well as fluoride, chlorine, and pH levels, hardness of the water. This water is coming through 2 filters that I pointed out earlier. So I'm going to wet this and then we'll look at the results. Give it a good dousing all the way around. And we'll compare this to the hose water that we got from before. and we're looking at high pH level, maybe not super high, not all the way, but pretty close. And the carbonate parts per million look a little high. Everything else looks okay. Seems like everything else is in the green. Okay, so what did we learn? Well, we learned that the water at the boatyard out of the hose has a little bit higher pH level. The neutral pH level would be like 7, and this seemed, based on the colors, to be around 7.2 to 7.6, which is a little higher alkalinity. The carbonates part per million was also a little high, but I'm not going to go into that. That has a direct relationship, or can have a direct relationship, to the alkalinity and the pH level, and I believe that is all tied in together. So just think of this water as a little bit hard, a little more alkaline, a little higher pH level. So compare that to the water that went through the water system on my boat, and that is interesting because the numbers actually rose for pH, carbonates parts per million, and alkalinity. So going through my water system on the boat, I thought, based on the filters, that things would improve, like numbers would go down, not up. So I don't know for sure what the source of that is. I don't know if that's the filters, or through the tank, or through the hoses, or through the water heater. Something is actually contributing to higher alkalinity once the water gets put in my tanks from the hoses. So that was, again, a very interesting result. And I'll put it to you. Does anybody out there have experience with that? Do you have the insights? I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you do. Okay, so what is higher pH levels or alkalinity? What does that have to do with water safety? I mean, is it safe to drink? That's the primary reason why I'm doing this. And certainly the tests did show that there were no outstanding issues with the metals, the lead level, or copper level, or magnesium level. All that looks normal. And yes, the water is safe to drink. A higher alkalinity might mean that the water could become bitter depending on how high the level is. And it's also easy to address. Like, really, it's just adding a little acidity to the water. You could do that with like a little lemon juice or a little vinegar, something along those lines. So in the end, high alkalinity isn't overly that bad. There is one issue with the hoses, like a skimming can occur within the hoses as a result of higher alkalinity. So that's something I can start looking at and monitoring. But again, this is relatively easy to address, and it's safe. So I want to thank my subscribers. I really appreciate your support. If you've stayed to the end of the video, please consider hitting that like button. That really helps the channel grow. This is Sailor Eric. Thanks for watching.